Right now, the Home Depot has spring deals under $20. So what are you working on? If you're planning on cooking out this season, head to the Home Depot so you can fire up the grill with deals on charcoal. Right now, get two 16-pound bags of Kingsford charcoal for only $17.88. Was $19.98. Don't miss spring deals under $20 now through May 7th at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, valid on select items only.
The Hoover Dam wasn't built in a day, and the GMC Sierra lineup wasn't built overnight. Like every American achievement, building the Sierra 1500 Heavy Duty and EV was the result of dedication. A dedication to mastering the art of engineering. That's what this country has done for 250 years, and what GMC has done for over 100. We are professional grade. Visit GMC.com to learn more. Assembled in Flint, Hamtramck, Michigan, and Fort Wayne, Indiana of U.S. and globally sourced parts.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
What a night in the NBA last night. Huge upsets in Game 1. And there were some really hard tickets out there. In fact, an Academy Award-winning filmmaker didn't get tickets to one of the games, and he had to go to the Met Gala instead. And all he had to do was download the Game Time.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah, so most people don't have the Met Gala to fall back on. So what do you do when you want to go to an event that is sold out? When you want to go specifically to an NBA playoff game that is sold out? Like this filmmaker, you should have downloaded the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed, incredible ticket coverage. For me, Game Time is the best in the secondary market. I use it all the time, especially come playoff time.
Chris Cody in a previous segment, I don't know if you guys saw it on video, if you caught it or not, but Chris Cody was pantomiming what looked like a pretty happy roller coaster descent into hell of the plane is crashing, I'm a fireball, I'm screaming. What have I done with it? Yes, it seemed happier than I would have imagined. Yes, that was, you were Arnold Schwarzenegger falling from the sky.
I'm falling!
Yes.
To quote Billy, though, what's the big deal?
Well, that is... I enjoyed...
If you're dead, what difference does it make if you saved $190?
That's 2 minutes, Billy.
Yeah, that 2 minutes of falling. That like, yeah, I understand. No, I don't want my last 2 minutes on Earth begging for death to take me away.
Am I talking to a ghost right now? No, you're alive.
I'm not going to give you buy-in on this one, pal. Like, I don't want to die in an airplane crash, and I'm not going to pretend like it's no big deal.
Spirit has had
you don't want to bite into an onion
in
anymore.
26 years.
You're like,
zero. It's impossible to have less than zero fatal crashes in 26 years.
Daredevil, the man without fear. I didn't know you were this hard ass all of a sudden.
Billy, to be fair, you don't want the last 2 minutes of your life being like, damn, why did I buy a Spirit ticket? That's it. It's not.
It's almost worse than death.
I should have spent the $220.
I could have avoided all of this.
Also, I didn't bring any cartons with me.
Oh, the cigarettes for barter would have been such a good idea. I'm dead.
Wish I could get on a Spirit flight right now.
Pack a parachute. They're going to charge you, but, you know.
The thing that I saw happening very clearly, again, I'm looking at our erstwhile executive producer and what's being talked about. What I'm hearing there is there are a lot of people who need that $200 and a $35 Spirit flight. You can shame people about it, but he did get home successfully. And while we can be classist or elitist about $200 doesn't matter, I need to save my life. When Chris Cody is a fireball with the last couple minutes of his life and he's enjoying it and it's Schwarzenegger, it's, I'm dying. It's also, I'm dying and I've done some simple math. I knew that I made the price of my life $200 when I chose this particular flight. So it's not just that you're a fireball that's made a terrible mistake on I only valued my life at $200. That realization while on fire burns a little extra.
No, it's even worse than that, Dan, because as he's crashing to Earth in his final moments, he can't even hold his son. Because his son is sitting in a different middle seat.
I would find a way to switch seats, all right? When I start to see that this thing is going awry...
Excuse me, is anyone next to you?
Yeah, I would manage to get next to my boy.
You got Zaz going, excuse me, pardon me.
No, the G-forces on this make this totally plausible.
A story I have not gotten yet to today, and I've been remiss in not doing so. I've done a couple of things today that have been a little delayed, and this particular story. Yesterday, when I saw the Ravens statement and sort of did some inventory on the last 10 years of American history through the Ravens organization, okay? Sports was the place where they kind of showed us what domestic abuse looks like. It's one of the greatest scandals in the history of sports that Ray Rice introduced us to. Oh, that's what it looks like when somebody beats the holy hell out of their significant other, and that's what it looks like when a Ravens organization rallies to protect its beloved Ray Rice, and that's what it looks like when a Ravens organization is pushed to the brink on, hey, do you want to have a comment on Colin Kaepernick as a backup? And the owner says, pray for us. This is one of the best organizations in sports, not just football, in sports. It's been great, and only because of the Patriots are we not even regarding them higher. The Ravens represent football very well. Football played well. Football played with discipline. They've won a lot of games because their kicker is better than everyone else. They had Adam Vinatieri for the modern age. He was the best. We all knew that when we're playing with math, right? 7 points or 3 points. The 3 points are hugely important. All the games are close. Justin Tucker is hugely valuable and beloved because, holy shit, the guy never misses and makes me feel good all the time, and other teams fear him. He's a valuable kicker.
When you have a 2-minute drill and most teams need to get to like the 30 to give themselves a chance, they go to the 45. They have no idea. Well, they're about to find out, and they found out a little bit last year.
No, they found out a lot last year, and that's why he's waived. Be clear on that. Be clear on that. He's not waived because of the crimes. He's waived because he was bad last year.
I mean, that's what they said, right? Football reasons.
So let me give you two scenarios. Scenario one, he has a more typical Justin Tucker year last year, but he has all these issues.
Hold on. Before we get to the hypotheticals that we can have a field day with on isn't morally right, just let me get through the part of this that outraged me yesterday, legitimately pissed me off as somebody who can be pretty numb to how cold sports can be. The Ravens falling all over themselves to release Justin Tucker with a hand to their head and faint on this hurts so much to tell you all that it hurts because it feels like Justin Tucker's the victim of, oh God, he was gross on alleged predatory stuff that seems reliable enough to be true no matter how shameless people are today about denying scandals. A lot of people coming forth, ew, creepy, disgusting behavior that the Ravens can't bring themselves to castigate in public as they released the following statement. Sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances. Considering our current roster, we have made the tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Justin created many significant and unforgettable moments in Ravens history. His reliability, focus, drive, resilience, and extraordinary talent made him one of the league's best kickers for over a decade. We are grateful for Justin's many contributions while playing for the Ravens. We sincerely wish him and his family the very best in this next chapter of their lives. That's Executive Vice President and General Manager Eric DaCosta. And what that is, and this should be overt to all, I think, right? I don't know if this bothers you at all, but this is a person whose punctuation on his career with very credible information, no matter what it is that we have to say about alleged here, was predatory in nature over women who were helpless in a way that's very similar to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson wouldn't deserve a statement of release like that right now, and Justin Tucker doesn't deserve a statement of release. I'm hesitant to even use the word release given what he's accused of. But what the Ravens did there was not leadership. It was not hard. They're defending somebody as if he's a victim when he made others the victim, and they're doing it with a bad kicker. They're not even doing it with the courtesy of a player who plays actual football respected by other football players because it's collisions. They're doing it to protect the precious kicker that no one respects just because he's worth 3 points at a time and just because that means more to the Ravens than real victims and women. And I just wish one time one of these football organizations would stand for something, not virtue signaling, but just stand for something that says, hey, This shit's not okay, even if you have to cover your ass legally, which they do have to cover their ass legally. Like, I'm not pretending or moralizing here and saying there's not a lot of cover your ass legally that you have to do here, because he hasn't yet been convicted of things, and there's plausibly some stuff that he can do legally that makes it seem like he was fired before it was legally just to do so on things that are accusations and not yet crimes.
I would say the counterpoint to that, though, is if he was a good kicker, they may not have released him.
They would not. They would not.
So, like, they are releasing him because he was a bad kicker. You're making it seem like they're using the accusations as an excuse for releasing him, and they're taking this moral stand, which they probably wouldn't have taken had he been a good kicker.
I think he's probably still around, though, were not for the allegations. He's arguably the greatest kicker of all time. And I'd say what's pretty telling is, where's the big tribute video? Baltimore? Like, where is this? Seemed like you're showering praise on Justin Tucker. Why haven't you put out the tribute video to your social channels? Well, oh, that's right, because there's something around this whole Justin Tucker story that certainly plays into what you allege is a football decision that was certainly made a lot easier because he all of a sudden, because I can only presume, had all this stuff going around his life that it affected his on-field performance. We got clued into that later last season, and we were like, well, I guess this makes sense, because what we saw last year from Justin Tucker was confusing because, and he was bad by most metrics, but he was really bad by his standard. It was shocking because every time that guy came out, you knew it was going in between the posts. You knew that he would do things at a higher clip than almost anyone else in the history of the game.
And that was my question. My question is, had he had a typical Justin Tucker year, let me say it all. Had he had a typical Justin Tucker year, but had these allegations, would he still be on the roster? And then the second question is, had he had the year he had last year with no allegations, would he still be on the roster?
So we can have this conversation at any point through the last 20 years of crimes in sports. Can you guys look up for me something, please? Because I think Mike is understating how bad Justin Tucker was last year. I think, I have not read the kicker numbers recently, but I believe that Justin Tucker went from the surest thing in the sport, best there's ever been, to, if not the worst kicker in the league. I think it might have been worst, but if not the worst, one of the very worst. And so now I tell you, and I ask you, the audience, what's tough about this decision? Like, why can't you make the stand on, man, this is, like, again, they have to wait for legal, and they have to wait for times that you can cut people, and there are corporate things that have to be adhered to so that you can make sure that you know in front of everybody we have to make a corporate football decision that covers everybody's ass here. But would you not like to hear one team be able to talk about to be brave enough to work around the lawyer stuff and simply say, we released Justin Tucker, period. Not we have released Justin Tucker. That's not even a stand. That's asking a football team to say about a bad kicker, get out of here. Like, that's not what you're accused of. It's not, never mind whether or not you're good or bad kicker. What you're accused of will knock out any kicker because it's the kicker, and we should respect women more than that.
His numbers were actually pretty comparable to Young Wei-O and Evan McPherson, two guys that I believe still have their jobs that we know to be good, that had down years last year, and we're not doing the whole football reasons there. I think for Justin Tucker, if none of this stuff is surrounding him, I think the greatest kicker in NFL history gets brought back for another opportunity to see. They may still draft a kicker. Like, okay, well, I guess
they did.
Yeah, well, they did because I think this stuff was surrounding him. Justin Tucker, if anyone at that position is afforded one slightly down, well, not slightly for him, but slightly in terms of NFL average, slightly down season, it would be him.
Well, that's the point. That's the part that's so frustrating is they absolutely release him. It's like, okay, they did the right thing. They released him because he's involved with these allegations. So they did the right thing here. But they're not willing to admit that that's why that they did it. Like, why can't one time they just say, we don't want to be associated with anyone involved in these type of allegations? A player of his caliber who got that statement, by the way, which was a nice statement, a heartfelt statement for a guy who's been there forever and is one of the great kickers of all time. If that guy has the season he just had, he's getting afforded another season to make good on it. But he was clearly let go because of the allegations. So why can't they just one time say, we don't want to be associated with this?
Because then if they do that, and then the next year, a much better player gets similar anything.
Well, they drafted a player in the second round this year who dealt with sexual allegations.
But it's just
this draft.
Similar anything, God almighty. Similar anything. There have been two of them, and there's not a similar anything in like the history of us covering football. Similar anything to what he and Deshaun Watson did?
No, he's had allegations, though, to the point, like, they could avoid the issue entirely. They don't seem to be. So it's almost as if, like, you do have reason to believe that football reasons played into this. It's not exclusively the football reason, though. I refuse to believe that. Justin Tucker, it's a reason why we've yet to see the tribute video, because they don't want to put it out there because they don't want to deal with the comment section.
You'll never see that tribute video.
And I think that's to Zaz's point. I think you're right. They're cutting him because of the issues. Yeah. But at the same time, they're trying to do him a quote-unquote solid by like, hey, we're not going to like bury you by saying, oh, or whatever.
Okay, but
So they're trying to be nice to him by saying, oh, it's totally a football reason. Just the fact that they had to say, for total football reasons, who says that in a press release when you release someone? You say, yeah, today we parted ways with so-and-so. We wish him the best. That's how you usually release someone. So the fact that they put all that in there is because they're trying to cover for him and for the allegations that have been made against
them. And cover for themselves, too.
For sure.
Because they've done some reporting how early in this process they were notified and they knew.
I don't know how the audience receives this. I don't know if the audience thinks this is moralizing or virtue signaling. Football reasons. I want, just like we just did the math on I'm a fireball, I'm burning, what's my life worth? $200. Football is telling you that if you are somebody who allegedly spends a lot of time revealing himself to masseuses, doing sexually deviant things that in a massage parlor that makes several credible women, many women covered by many journalists, say this was something that he was repeatedly doing. Football has told you now, the Ravens, one of the great organizations in sports, you want us to be moral about these things? Here's the price if we've got somebody that we think has a name in our uniform, even if it's a kicker. We will respect women if he goes from 90% of his kicks to 80% of his kicks. That's what women and victims are worth to us as a football organization. And also, when that 10% goes down, in the statement, we will praise him and not say anything about it. If he goes down, that's what they're telling you. That league where the moral stand of what these things cost is, if you're a deviant, an alleged deviant like Justin Tucker doing Deshaun Watson things, the way you will get waived is if your percentage goes from 90% to 80%, and we will not say anything about your crimes publicly. We will take care of you at the end.
Well, Justin Tucker's percent actually went from like 86 to 73, which is extreme. He's 35 years old. Those two things and the off-field things saw his demise.
I'm just saying that 13%, like,
it's huge.
But no, absorb it. You say it's huge. I think you're doing the math wrong. Absorb that what the NFL is telling you here is that if you're an alleged criminal with shameful crimes and you're a kicker and you go down by 13%, that's about how much they value women, and they're not going to say so in the statement.
Well, look how far it took for the NFL to decide this Deshaun Watson, for the Browns specifically to decide this Deshaun Watson thing isn't for us. It's the ineffectiveness. And he got a lot of opportunities when it was very clear. It went over. The Ravens are just following the set standard. Like, these allegations seemingly, yeah, there's suspensions and punishment, but they're not being thrown in jail. I mean, we still talk about them as allegations and settlements. Deshaun Watson, at the game's most important position, survived it. Surely a kicker could.
There isn't a team in the NFL that would have released a Justin Tucker in his circumstances and made specific reference to the allegations. It's just not done. He hasn't been convicted of a crime. He hasn't been charged with a crime, to my knowledge. The civil suits haven't been settled. It is alleged right now. Now, do I think he's guilty based on everything I've read and heard? Yes, I absolutely do. But for his club not to mention that in a statement is not the least bit surprising.
But Greg, the counterpoint is, okay, you don't have to mention that. Why would they mention football reasons specifically?
Well, they shouldn't have, and it was much too flowery.
Right. Well, if it was football reasons, we'd get the proper football goodbye for one of the game's greatest legends. I think what everyone's taken issue here and why Dan's crumpling up the paper is the way that the Ravens approached this last year was kind of bullshit. They never had to really address this head on. And now, when he's on his way out, and you conveniently hang your hat on football reasons, but skirt all the other football reason stuff that you would with honoring a proper legend, it seems like the Ravens are trying to get one over on us.
Fair or unfair for me to say, it's not that they're trying to get one over on us. One of the great football organizations has gotten one over on us, because I'm giving you the history of one of the best football teams there have been in the last 20 years. When it comes to Ray Rice and Colin Kaepernick, pray for us.
Don't forget Ray Lewis.
And now this, thank you. the organization that gave you and birthed all of this with Ray Lewis, but also gave you Ray Rice and Justin Tucker and pray for us on Colin Kaepernick. It's a fairly extraordinary thing for me to be able to look at a 15, 20-year body of work and say, look at that. Baltimore Ravens, one of the great franchises, one of the great leadership football franchises. Cowards.
Look at Kansas City, though.
Cowards, though, is what I'm saying. Look at what, yes, you can look at Kansas City, but when I'm saying one of the great football organizations, stand for something. You've got the confidence of, you guys have been really good for 20 years. You can stand for something. And what do you stand for? Protecting Justin Tucker, protecting your own, protecting the compound, protecting the huddle, and not standing for anything other than cowardice in plain sight when you can actually make a literal statement on something.
Okay, and what would that statement have said?
It should have came during the season, and they cowered to a bunch of pressure, but they would probably hold up what they did with Ray Rice as, look, we did the hard thing. At that point, it was a pretty obvious thing, but remember how good Ray Rice was when that video burst on the scene.
Hold on. They did the right thing when that video burst on the scene. Before that video burst on the scene, they didn't quite do the right thing.
But was Ray Rice that good? I thought his last year he was 3.4 yards a carry or something. I think they did the same thing with Ray Rice.
It's another data point as to why I think Justin Tucker would be given another opportunity, because Ray Rice was actively being given another opportunity to recapture his form.
Dan, to your point about the Ravens being one of the great organizations and look at how they skated, again, I would point to, who would we call the greatest organization of the 21st century? They had murderers. Yeah. It's
an alleged serial killer.
A single murderer, not murderers, a single murder.
Murderers is what I meant to say. Murderers.
Multiple
murders.
Single murder. It was one. It was
one
murderer.
One murderer.
One murderer.
One
Let
murderer.
me finish. Yeah. There's an extra syllable from murder to murderer.
Yeah.
One murderer.
We're all trying to help him.
Murderers. Though. Multiple murderers. It's a weird word, murderers. Sounds like a country person just heard, murderers. Oh, I hurt murderers.
It's a hard thing to laugh around.
You got to find the funny in everything.
When you celebrate 50 years of Miller Lite, I had to bring in a Miller Lite aficionado, Greg Cody. I mean, no one says Miller Lite like Greg Cody. When I think of me and you, I think of us on a golf course. Where else are we at?
I mean, on a cruise ship. In my backyard.
At the beach.
At the beach is a good one.
And what do we always do? We hear the...
Oh, yeah.
And then what do?
We toast.
We nice little clink. The clink, whether it's the can or the bottle, there's something about the clink of the Miller Lite.
Yeah, and it's not just how much we love it. It's the whole ritual of it. The popping the top, the sound of that. Yeah, it's great. Love it.
From game nights to parties with friends or a special anniversary, celebrating important occasions means more with the coolest people in your life. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer for people who love beer since 1975. Now's the perfect time to celebrate legendary stories with friends, family, and a great tasting light beer. It's Miller time. The simple ingredients, that malted barley for rich, balanced toffee note flavors and that iconic golden color.
Yes, it's one. Everything about it is wonderful. I can't think of anything bad.
You're smiling. Ever since we started doing this ad read, you have just been smiling the entire time.
I'm a Miller Lite guy.
That kind of thing. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Folks, listen up. If you run anything online these days, a podcast, a merch store, whatever it is, you're basically forced to wear 12 hats. Marketing? Sure. Customer service? Why not? And now you're supposed to be your own IT department? Kinsta is managed WordPress hosting, which means you get blazing fast site speeds, top-tier security, and a dashboard that doesn't look like it was built in 2006. And if something goes sideways, real humans, not bots, to help you 24/7. No scripts, no sorry I don't understand replies. Kinsta takes the stress out of tech stuff so you can actually focus on your business. Or in our case, more time watching games, arguing nonsense, and delivering the hottest take possible. No messing with settings, no panic troubleshooting, just smooth sailing. Tired of being your own website support team? Switch your hosting to Kinsta and get your first month free. And don't worry about the move, they'll handle the whole transition for you. No tech expertise required. Just visit kinsta.com/Dan to get started. That's KINSTA.com/Dan.
Hey folks, it's Mike Ryan. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Now, if you're a legacy listener, you know all the great playoff memories that we've had down here on the ice and especially on the hardwood. A lot of deep runs for the Miami Heat down here. A lot of great memories. It was an incredible time to be a basketball fan down here, and there's nothing like playoff basketball live. So why don't you download the Game Time app? Because Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets a tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. And don't forget, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Dan Le Batard.
A woman who was out swimming with her friends is believed to have been swallowed whole by a 13-foot shark without any of her friends noticing. That's the weirdest part about that story. You're swimming with friends, you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, people are looking around and go, "Where's Shelly?" Like, nobody screamed?
Every friend group has a Shelly, though, that if they go missing because a shark ate them whole, you wouldn't notice.
Classic Shelly.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Stugotz.
She went quietly, apparently. If I'm swallowed whole by a shark, you're going to know it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
The Celtics last night
Segue.
Speaking of New England sports,
took 45 uncontested three-pointers. They missed 32 of them. That's not going to happen again. So we're clear. That has nothing to do with anybody's defense, incidentally. We can talk about OG's perimeter defense. That has nothing to do with anybody's perimeter defense. The Celtics missed 32 three-pointers last night that were uncontested.
Can I talk about three particular attempts that I really hated? One was Drew Holiday grabs an offensive rebound that off of a missed three, grabs it in the corner, turns around and wildly pulls up another three. Like, just casually, just throws it up there. I'm like, what are you doing? And number two, and this one really bothered me, and I get it. We say this about him all the time, but I'm like, come on, guy. Jason Tatum, you got Jalen Brunson on you on an island. That's the matchup that every team that's playing against the Knicks is looking for. How can we get Jalen Brunson in single coverage against our best perimeter player? And this Jamoke takes not one, but two step-back threes? What are you doing?
Well, what they're doing is being lazy, is what it is.
No,
like,
but
it's so much easier to do that.
Let's examine for a second what the Celtics have done to basketball and the poison that is them having it easy last year and Mike Ryan being frustrated all offseason because he's like, Tatum didn't even have to show us anything if all he's going to do is just take every step-back jumper and you're just better at threes than everybody and you're just better than everybody, and they beat the respect out of you by making all their threes. Tatum last night, look, it's not Brunson missed a shot at the rim, an easy one, and none of us are questioning how clutch he is. But man, Tatum doesn't even get tested on the clutch. And in last night's game, those shots were weak. That's a guy that's used to, I'm going to get to take all of these 33-pointers every spot, and I don't even have to break down Brunson. I'll step back because I can get this shot whenever I want for the rest of my life, and history will not respect me if that's what I am at the end of games, because I don't even have to try at the end of games. I'll make 14% of these, and none of them will be in tough games, and we'll beat everybody by 5.
Zaz, you were surprised that I wasn't as thrown off by Dagnall saying, we would foul up 3 again, maybe a little later in the clock, but as an overall philosophy. I one-up you with Joe Mazzulla after the game being asked about, hey, you guys missed 40-some-odd threes. 19 of your 20 attempts in the third quarter were three-pointers.
Think about say that. Can you say that part again? Because I feel like you say that, and maybe some people watching and listening, they don't really grasp what you just said. Tell everybody again in the third quarter what their field goal attempts were.
The Boston Celtics took 23 field goal attempts in the third quarter.
They were winning by 20. They were in the third quarter. The Boston Celtics, who have not been tested, they give up a 20-point lead because they just start taking jumpers from 40 feet away.
They took 20 field goal attempts in the third quarter. 19 of them were from 3.
That's garbage. It's garbage basketball. I'm so over the Celtics where they're winning basketball games with math. I like analytics. I like learning more about the game. I like the numbers and to be able to help us figure things out. But the Celtics are just winning with math. Let's shoot as many three-pointers as possible. It's one of the worst things that has ever happened to the league.
But they won. They won a championship.
With math, because they're really good at shooting.
So why are they going to change their game plan just because they've got a 20-point lead?
Not.
That's what they do.
Well, I hope they do, because it's not just math. It's also, conveniently, we have this core where everyone questions their mental fortitude, and we had the pristine luck of every round the opposing team's best player got injured. Until we made it to the finals against a team nobody expected to be there in the NBA Finals, and they somehow got lucky and won an NBA championship. You need some luck there.
Not lucky.
They got lucky in that every team's best player in the playoffs in that Eastern Conference got hurt. And what happened last night was they were playing with their food because they expect it to come easy to them.
And they're lazy.
Because it did come easy to them last year.
I mean, Dan, they attempted 63s and 37 twos.
Guys.
Zaz, it wasn't even, I'm sorry, Dan, but it wasn't even like, man, like we couldn't get any dribble penetration or whatever, or couldn't get to. They didn't even try. It was strictly perimeter based, and I'm gonna stick up for analytics. Analytics doesn't say keep shooting like a dumbass, right? The most valuable shot in basketball is a layup or a dunk. That even with all the threes in the corner, it's still a layup or a dunk is number 1 on that list, right? And so they didn't even attempt. Tatum had one layup in that fourth quarter or / overtime, and I was like, oh, I thought you were allergic. What happened? How did you get lost on the way to the three-point line and find yourself under the rim?
Fans love talking about, what adjustments you're going to make from game to game. Halftime adjustments, as if we can never have the coach make an in-game adjustment. And Joe Mazzulla after the game, who, by the way, I don't know that Joe Mazzulla is a good coach. Joe Mazzulla after the game has to go look, says he has to go look at the tape and see what they did wrong. Joe, you shot 1,000 threes. You missed them all, and you kept shooting them all game long. What are you talking about? You have to go back and look at the film. Do something else with your offense and shoot threes.
This is what I'm telling you is confusing about the evolution of this sport, okay? Because James Harden will be a plague forevermore for not doing this aesthetically well, but winning the MVP and saying, bleep off. It's all about efficiencies. I don't care whether you like how it looks. I don't care whether you think it's entertaining. When I'm sitting here doing a sports show with people I know who know sports, and Zaslow's sitting here saying out loud, I don't know if Joe Mazzulla is a good coach.
I don't.
And Mike is sitting here disrespecting what has been one of the great teams of the last 2 years over 2 full seasons that have trounced his Heat with, they're lucky. When what they've actually done is Brad Stevens did what Theo Epstein did, which is like, I'll do accounting. I'll figure out how to get Drew Holiday and Porzingis, and we'll take all of the threes and we'll fix the math of the sport, but also make it less interesting. And I'm going to be confounded by whether Joe Mazzulla is a good coach because they've just fixed 50 threes in your face, and Pritchard is better than anyone out there shooting like ridiculous threes because they have the pieces in place that both ruins the sport and makes the analysis of it stink. When we give it so much math that Mike Ryan is like, the Celtics are lucky, and Zaz is sitting here, is Joe Mazzulla is a good coach? Oh, it's all because they're built better than everyone else. They're like in racing. They've got the better car.
Well, no one on this show has given them more credit for doing the hard thing and actually making the aggressive move. It's couched every single one of my Miami Heat takes, but the fact remains, no Jimmy Butler, no Joel Embiid, Halliburton gets hurt. Rick Carlisle, look at that Pacers series and look at their win probabilities and look at the bullshit that the Pacers players did down the stretch to blow those games. It is irrefutable that they got lucky on their path to their first NBA championship, a championship that eluded that core for years on end.
This is what I'll say. Tom Haberstroh said this a long time ago. Every single champion in NBA history has an asterisk. Every single one. Because someone got hurt, someone got suspended. That's part and parcel of the journey. I'm not going to take anything away from their championship as a result because every little champion before them has benefited in one way or another. Having said that, Dan, they don't have the best roster. They haven't broken the sport. They play well. They win a lot of games. Guess what? So do a lot of other teams in this league. The Nuggets win a lot of games. Have they broken the sport? They won as many titles as the Celtics have, right? The Bucks have won as many titles as the Celtics have in the last 5 years. We literally since 2018, we've had a new champion every year. So I don't think there's any one team that says, "Yeah, we broke basketball," and everyone has to fall in our way. Now, it's yes, the 3-point line is more important now than it's ever been in basketball. We figured it out. We figured out taking contested 2-point jumpers is bad. Take that step back, take a 3. But as I said, the road to the most efficient offense still begins with in the rim in the restricted area. Number 2 is a free throw. Number 3 is a corner 3. Number 4 is a wing 3. And the idea also is it's not baking, right? It's not one part, this instant result. You have to be able to adjust. Put too much salt? Okay, let me add some more sauce over here. What the Celtics do is like, no, I got to keep adding salt. So they said there's salt in the recipe. Got to keep adding salt. And that's not how basketball is played. It's not played by robots, Dan. It's played by human beings that have to, Dan, they have to make decisions.
Your tears are salty and all of it's
my
salty.
Tears?
No, because listen, you guys
They lost the game last night. What, my tears?
I'll tell you what tears sound like when you're a Heat basketball show. The Boston Celtics have been indisputably, now we can talk about Cleveland and OKC, for the last 2 years up until right now, clearly the best team in basketball by point differential. You can whimper all you want about that. Give them their respect on what they've actually been the last 2 years. You can tell me you think Denver's better. You can tell me you think OKC or Cleveland is better. But to date, no one challenges them. They've made it look easy. And I would not be surprised if they win the series by 5 games.
Who'd they play?
The Knicks, if they beat them in the... But... That was you again!